Good afternoon, San Diego gardeners. I received a comment on my last citrus tree video about the ants, and I thought that would be a great video topic to discuss. So here's the tree I had previously been talking about, and I've since planted it in the ground and I clipped the root that had been strangling the bottom portion. And so far so good. We haven't had any dieback. However, yes, there are some ants, and I don't have any plant scale a little bit, but nothing super bad yet on this tree. However, I did want to discuss ants in plant scale as well as fungus. So if you have, like in my case actually, I just had a baby, so I haven't had much time to be out in the garden, and a lot of my poor trees have suffered because even a lack of consistent watering can make your plant very vulnerable to disease. So in the case of this tree, sorry if I'm out of breath, I have my baby on the baby carrier. In the case of this tree, I had it in a pot for the longest time, and it had very crummy soil that would often dry out really bad. And when soil gets really dry, it can create an environment that ants can actually colonize and create like a network inside the soil. So the trouble with ants and a suffering tree is that that tree will then become very susceptible to plant scale, because an unhealthy tree is a great tree for food for little critters like these guys here, these plant scale. And once you have plant scale, that creates this honeydew that the ants essentially have a symbiotic relationship with the plant scale and the sticky substance that they leave behind, and it just kind of creates an environment where both can thrive. And so that's not good, because that sticky substance also causes things like this right here. And this is a great example of a tree that has gotten totally out of control with plant scale, and as a result you end up with this sooty mold, and that's no good. However, it's not game over for the tree. You can actually spray this with the Be Safe formula, or if you have some good time on your hands, you can come over here in the wee hours of the morning, I would recommend, and hose it all off really well, and get it all cleaned up, clean leaves again, get all of this plant scale off. And then what you'd want to do is either just let it dry from the sun throughout the day, or go ahead and spray the Be Safe formula on it, which is an organic treatment, totally safe for bees, as it states in the name, safe for animals, etc. The reason I recommend doing it really early, though, is for a few reasons. One, you don't want to spray anything freshly, especially because that stuff is sticky. You don't want to spray it, well, it's like oily, not really sticky, it's like oily. You don't want to spray it while the bees are out and everything like that, because, they might get stuck in it and there could be problems. And so on the instructions, it tells you that as well. Another issue is that stuff can actually burn your plants if you do it at a time like this, where the sun is out, and it can burn it. So do it in the wee hours of the morning, get it all cleaned up, and it'll come back tenfold. Now, I'm not really concerned with this tree, even though it looks really bad. I know that I can come in here early morning and clean this all up, and then let the sun just dry it throughout the day. And it's just going to do what it's going to do. What I am going to do, though, after that, is I'm going to make sure, and you can see here too, the ants coming up the trunk. Which brings me to another point too that I forgot to mention, is that another pest that is very common for citrus is mealybug. It's those little white fluffy bugs, and that looks like they're starting right there. And very much like plant scale, there's like different forms of them, so they'll like kind of have these like weird alien nodules. I don't see any on here right now, but they're like even bigger than the plant scale. And then they can also fly And there are also these like puffy looking things with legs. I'll have to do another video on those, but those are some interesting creatures, and they do the same thing. They excrete that honeydew, and you can see it here. It's like a sticky substance, and then this creates the perfect environment for mold and fungus to just totally take over. Now, there's a lot of fear factors around, oh, I have all this stuff on my tree, and I have it right next to a vulnerable citrus here. Yes, that's true. It's not good, and if you can treat it, you should. But if you're a mom and you got other priorities, you can't always get to it. The number one thing that I will recommend you do and try to make a priority, even if it's like for a couple minutes with the baby on your back like me, is come out, make sure it has adequate water, and make sure that it's got adequate food. Because if the tree is getting healthy, then all of this stuff will resolve. That's just been my experience. Now, it's not a foolproof plan because, you know, sometimes there's a multitude of reasons that a plant just won't make it. And one of them could be, even just like this one here, maybe there was a choking root down below that just made the plant very sick and more susceptible to all of those diseases and pests. And even though you did all the work and things that you thought would fix it, it might just die anyway. And that's because perhaps you didn't see the root, because oftentimes when you get them from the nursery, sometimes the soil is like all the way up here, and if you're new to planting, you may not know to dig out the crown just to kind of see what you're working with roots and pests before you plant it. And if you've never seen the root that was choking it out beneath the soil, then it'll just kind of end up dying, and you won't really have known what it was from. But hopefully that was a helpful video. And I have another one where I had covered this pest here, which is the leaf miner. And that one's another pain in the butt. But yeah, in the beginning of my gardening, I was really bent out of shape by all these little things. But as time went on, and I see like there's other healthy leaves, the plant looks otherwise really great, I just keep focusing on the health of the soil, and then that will eventually make the plant healthy as well. The health of the roots, and then the trees will resolve over time. But yeah, whenever you don't have time for things, unfortunately, sometimes at younger stages of life, these trees can really kind of get pretty bent out of shape, like this one here. But yeah, hopefully my unfortunate cases in the garden can help you to become an even better gardener and a green thumb. And you know what? It's not an all or nothing. We're all always learning. And even though you might have a super successful garden 1 month or for several years at a time, all of a sudden different changes in the weather, changes in pests, you name it, can kind of like throw it off balance. But you know, I think the beauty of gardening is that it's all a learning process, and in that process it's kind of fun to just try new things, and whenever you see that stuff works, it's so rewarding. So it's a therapeutic, cathartic experience, I think, and that's why I love it. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. Hopefully that was a helpful video to anybody who might find it helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.